Professor Samuel Edujemfi is joining us. He's a senior lecturer, political science. That's the Faculty of Political Studies at the University of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. Professor Samuel Edujemfi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here on Key Point.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Let's now hear Richard Ahiagba, who is Director of Communications of the NPP. We spoke to him on Thursday after the official announcement of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. What went into this choice and why the confidence that he is the man to help the NPP's flag bearer break the 8? Take a listen.
I tell you that we're yet to get into the country, but the indication from National Council is that this is the choice of the party. It was a unanimous endorsement, no opposition, 100% endorsement of the Vice President nomination of Dr. Martin Opoku Prempeh, who, in the wisdom of Council, is that he's a good pair. He's one that will complement the Vice President absolutely well. And given the performance of the Minister himself in his initial appointment as Minister of Education, now as Energy, he's delivered. His work is he's a hard worker. He's a doer, very assertive and bold individual. He will complement the ticket very well, and we are very confident, Living Council, that this will be the victory ticket for the New Patriotic Party. So on that account, I can tell you that the party, from national to region and to constituency to polling stations, are prepared and ready to canvass for the victory of this ticket.
Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh compliments Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia very well. That's what you're saying. The other question that is on the lips of many is, what does he bring to the table? I know I've heard some executives of the party saying that both he and the Vice President are workaholics, but let's just go into the specificity of it. What does Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh bring to this ticket?
Yes, sir. He's not a stranger to Ghanaian politics, so and if you conclude that he's a workaholic, a worker, is a doer, then you conclude that he will work as hard as needed to be able to ensure that the work that we started in 2017, and you are the best people to give account of what we have done in 2017, 2018, 2019, up until when COVID came and threw all the games off balance. He would come and support the Vice President to deliver.
So that's Richard Ahiagba, who is Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, speaking to my colleague Beatrice Ovdu and Martin Esiodudate over, that's on Thursday. Now, it says that this choice is a good compliment for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Professor Kwekwaza sends a message, and this is to you, Nano Heneto. Professor Kwekwaza says, he posted, John and Jane, JJ, Mahamadou and Matthew, MM, will it be Alan and Abu Sakara? When are you choosing your, in fact, unveiling your... Very soon.
Very soon.
Alan Chemantin has his running mate in mind.
Yes.
A choice has been made.
A choice has not been made in terms of there, but everybody knows what they are up to, and Alan knows what he's up to. So you wait. Alan is a very strategic person, and he's always been. When Alan announces, the whole nation will hail him for bringing whoever the running mate is.
We are 5 months to the election. So when would that be?
Oh yeah, I mean, shortly.
Before the end of the month?
Shortly.
Oh, it should be before the end of the month.
Okay, that's your suggestion.
Because
if you are advising me, that would be your advice. Okay, I'll consider your advice. We'll consider your advice.
But
Thank you.
I mean, yes, you may not have encountered Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh personally, but then again, it goes beyond just his personality to the complementary role that he brings to the NPP ticket. I mean, you're a citizen in good standing because you pay your taxes, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
you would vote. What does this ticket tell you?
So, putting it simply, you just say that he who the gods want to kill, they first make mad. Wow. Yes. He who the gods want to kill, they first make mad. So, you know, at a point, this thing, so I'll go straight to the point about the main concern people have is with their arrogance, right? So let's tackle it head on instead of doing too much theory. The reason I'll just go with the people of Ghana and not take a risk with opoku prempeh is that Akufo-Addo did it. You see, that's how when he came, we're told that this man is arrogant. And you see, this thing had started long ago, over 40 years. Okay, when I was very young, I remember adults saying that, no, this guy, no, Akufo-Addo, you see him, this guy, when he takes over this government, he's going to run us down. Over 40 years ago, I'm telling you, when we were children, people said this thing, that this guy, the day you hand over power to him, he will run this country down. So one day I picked up a phone and called one of my aunties. I said, hey, you said it too. I remember I was just small. And I used to hear adults say it. They were saying it, that this guy, they were referring to Akufo-Addo. If you give him power, this country is doomed. And true. So please, I'm not about to make any mistake. People know opoku prempeh, and they say he's arrogant. I've also followed the Doomsor timetable argument, this statement he made, where he said people should go and get their own timetable. Number two, I followed the teachers one, what he told the teachers. Okay, and the diploma teachers, the way he insulted them. And yes, and then what Basinteri said, that yes, those days, the progression was that from training college, you go to diploma. That time, you see University of Education. Yes, it used to be a diploma training institution. Then before you go to uni, etc. So you can't insult diploma holders, right? Then, so I've mentioned three. The polybag case, right? And so on and so forth. So please, the arrogance, no. This one, I was listening to something he said in Parliament, just even after on the back of the Kenyan Revolution, if I call it so to speak, the Kenyan Revolution, right? And I saw that, there was a part where he meant well, but the tone was bad. So maybe this is to him. He needs a voice coach, that they have to perhaps work on him, except that won't change my mind anyway, because that would be a facade. But at least so that on the face, when he speaks, it may be a bit convincing. So it was a tone, because I saw that, what the man was saying, okay, the tone didn't jive with the content. He meant well, but the tone was so gruff and so condescending that you thought he wanted to be condescending, but he actually meant well. So if there's something opoku prempeh needs to hear from me, it is that he has to see a voice coach, then they will coach him how to tone. It's part of the packaging, except that this time we are wiser. Once people have lived with him and people are saying it, coupled with the statements he's made publicly, with this arrogance, I won't make the mistake. I won't make that mistake. He's not the only medical doctor. It's not even about doctors. You know, years ago, if you said medical doctor, PhD, etc., it was very appealing, like those days when Bawumia started. But now we've seen that those titles don't matter much, because look at Mahama. Mahama is not trained as a lawyer. Okay, he doesn't have half of the knowledge, so to speak, formal knowledge of Akufo-Addo, if in terms of training at the bar. But his credentials as a president are way ahead of Akufo-Addo. So now I don't mind medical doctor or what, it doesn't matter at all. It's what you've shown so far. And because Napoleon, just my last statement on this. Listen, beggars believe that the way we're angry about Napoleon saying that the journalists should, and the people who are asking for their own timetable should go and get it. He didn't bring an apology. I was like, oh.
No, so if he apologizes today.
It's too late now. It's too late. He was supposed to do it.
Make a difference for you?
No, it won't, because then it's like it's part of the packaging. We will not accept that packaging, like the way Akufo-Addo was repackaged. Akufo-Addo was going from house to house and eating with people, drinking calipo, and then seeking to behave like he's an ordinary. No. Once bitten, twice shy. I'm coming one statement. You see, locally in Chi, I say, I'll
tell you what. So,
only a fool will allow you to step on his testicles twice. I'm not about to do that.
Now we are seeing some of them following suit. We've seen in time past after the governor going around braiding people's hair. I think you have Michael Kwei Jr. also now was seen washing people's clothes. Look, let me give an advice to our viewers. If any of these politicians show up in the run-up to this election to braid hair, just line up all the women in your constituency. Let them braid all the hair in the constituency. If they come washing for you, pack all your dirty clothes and give it to them to wash. Okay? That would serve as a lesson to all of them.
Vote for real people.
That's the thing.
Vote for real people.
Really, how do you strike the balance between public sentiment about a candidate and the capacity of the candidate to deliver based on the party's own considerations? Because the NPP says this is our best choice, this is our consideration, regardless of what the public perception might be. Prof.
Yeah, thanks very much, and greetings to the gentlemen in the studio I've been following. I think your question is a difficult one, I must say. Fundamentally, I would want to maybe start off with the anecdotes you shared and the fact that when people come to them, politicians come to the electorates to wash their clothes, they should give them as much more to wash. But in the literal sense, that is what it ought to be, because they are supposed to be washing our dirty linen, washing the difficult parts of our lives and purify it so that we can become better people. In a sense of metaphors, it is like drilling crude and purifying it. The fire and if you like, the crucible it has to go through. And politicians, I believe, fundamentally are called to that task. And in many respects, when you tie that into the discussions, my brothers have been having and my seniors have had in the studio so far, it is quite clear that I believe Ghanaians, and generally, I do not want to go into demographics, because when it comes to some of these, election time, sometimes people may try to misconstrue, but at least we know the percentages of the religious persuasions and ideas and all that. And if you put everything together, in BT said one time that Africans are notoriously religious. Religious indeed. In fact, there are two questions that Ghanaians historically have asked politicians, because maybe we, as much as possible, talking about credentials and qualifications, several of them do not come to the table with that notion. We think they have not asked that question. And that question is what is being posed to Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, right? Mm-hmm. Two questions, paideia and kenosis. I'll take time to maybe, like Matthew said, people said, I do not intend to be theoretical, but the whole idea is that I must stick to this because it's a critical question. Two Christian philosophical questions Ghanaians have asked historically, except that maybe we've not trumpeted that enough, or we have not been interested, again, with the media front and other social fronts, to push that discussion. The fact that in the pursuit of knowledge, there is the appreciation of virtue. And when we're growing up, my father, who passed on after having lived over 100 years, my elder brother died some 2 years ago at 96. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you this. You wouldn't make a trip to Accra, go and do anything, whatever you went to do, or hired or employed, return back home with a car, and you will not be asked how much you earn as a salary and what you are keeping, whether we do the mathematics, it will fit into the equation or not. So fundamentally, society asks questions about virtue. Ethics that was supposed to construct or serve our society good. And in many respects, that is what we have asked our politicians. And the same question is being posed to Napo today. Mm-hmm. That whether he comes to the table with the appreciation of virtue as much as it does with the acquisition of knowledge. I am on paideia. So fundamentally, it is not being a medical doctor per se, or having served as a minister of state per se in various portfolios, or being an MP. But the question is that what virtue do you come to the table with? Very essential question. The second question that is closely knitted to that is the question of arrogance that I believe, we've had some conversation and imbalance in the discussion, right?
Okay.
It's the kenosis I talked about. Self-emptying. And for those, he himself is a Christian, I believe. Clearly, Christ stripping himself of his divine privileges, right? Comes to live amongst men and all that. That's a question Ghanaians have asked over time.
Okay.
That if you are a politician and you will not be concerned about our plight and be empathetic enough in your conversation, set your privileges aside, background, education, position aside, and then come to our level. These are questions Ghanaians have asked historically. And like the gentleman talked about, they asked Akufo-Addo historically. And they've asked many other political actors who have had social contract with us, whether they have the capacity within a balancing act to keep this paideia and kenosis. These are questions the average Ghanaians have asked our politicians.
I see. And so do you see this choice, and in a minute, of Dr. Matthew Opoku, because you are in the region, you know the dynamics of the Ashanti region, having worked and lived there for so long and done the political analysis. Would this choice galvanize the base of the party as per the expectations?
I'll be quick to add, at least we have seen from 2008, even when President Akufo-Addo had lost elections, up to winning, even to the present time, the Ashanti vote, the NPP, operating around the 70% percentile, if you look at it. So fundamentally, they did not need a messiah in Matthew Opoku Prempeh to bring in the votes. What, however, was required, which the flag bearer has done justly so, is that the loyalty of the voters in Asante has been rewarded by providing somebody from the Asante vote or the Asante caucus, if you like, among other things. So that in that respect, by that singular act, if I'm correct, then the flag bearer has almost invariably whipped the core base of the NPP within the card-bearing members' realm into alignment. However, suffice to say that it doesn't suggest that the persona or the charisma of Matthew Opoku Prempeh is what would bring this into being. But the earlier singular act of honoring them with somebody from the region, in many respects, has the tendency or the proclivity to bring about this alignment. It is because of this that he himself must roll his sleeves and go out to work. I've been consistent with my narrative the past weeks that he cannot speak off the cuff, he cannot speak extempore, he will need branding, whether Ghanaians will look beyond their kenosis and paideia expectations which they have had historically. That's another question. It is equally the 8th year. And we have seen the cycle of the 8th year. And that in itself presents a greater question to the NPP, and that in itself must also be reflected on.